Well, we do the proper fencing salute, right? Start, so Olympic style. Tell me when to go.
It's ready. It's ready.
Okay. So.
Your fencing, you eat the more the action is the straight.
Straight back. So it's basically European fencing style. So this is a rapier. The style is very close to so basically the épée is a rapier, right? Slightly shorter rapier. So the style is épée style, and it is a lot heavier than épée. It's already pretty heavy.
So if how do you do when?
So it's so this is low guard, low. So it's low left, low right, high guard, and so I've got an advantage because I've got a much longer blade than Mr. Chen. So it's a bit of an unfair advantage. But Mr. Chen has the advantage of being much better than me. I think that's enough. Okay, so Mr. Chen is sharing with me some of his newest products. This is actually a predecessor to the rapier. This is a model of a replica of a sword. It looks, so you look at the blade, it basically looks like a backsword. So it's a double-edged back. It's more like a traditional side sword kind of design. It's a relatively it's a very handy sized blade, very much tapered, but it's very much a cut and thrust weapon, right? Broader blade than a typical rapier. This is a predecessor to the rapier, and like all of Mr. Chen's products, this is a very functional weapon. It has good spring to it, but still stiff. So this is a real weapon, and another beautiful example. Okay, cut it.
这种呢，它是最早期的瞬间剑的形态，它是从那个中世纪剑那个侧剑过渡而来的，所以它那个刃是很宽，而且那个劈砍的那个效能非常的好。它后来的那个瞬间剑，它就慢慢的变得更长，然后更细了。所以他说是一个这个剑，它叫陆离黑正位剑，它就是最早期的一个瞬间剑的形态。
So Mr. Chen has shared with me his latest creation, and this is a beautiful sword. This is a replica of a European rapier, which was probably, I would argue, the best single swordsman weapon that's ever been made. It's a single-handed sword. It is over a meter-long blade, so it gives you a lot of reach. It's a gentleman's weapon, so these were never cheap. So rapiers were owned by wealthy gentlemen, and these very elaborate hilts were expensive to make. They're expensive to make now. They were expensive to make 500 years ago when these swords were made new. So this is a this is a traditional welded hilt rapier as opposed to a cup hilt rapier. Very beautifully made blade. It's Damascus steel. It's got good balance of stiffness and some flex. So this is a real weapon. Double-edged blade. These were very much, it's got enough of a blade to be a cutting blade, but it is very much a thrust-centric weapon. These were not really used in duels as opposed to what you'd see in Hollywood or in Hongdian Studios movies. This was a defensive weapon by a gentleman. So if a gentleman was stopped by, let's say, a gang of 3 or 4 ruffians armed with knives or short swords, he had a weapon that he could defend himself with. The number of people that got into a one-on-one duel, rapier to rapier, there's, outside of training, very few. Okay.
这个剑它是早期的扫把的一个典型的训练剑，它也是产于德国。德国这个剑叫 Sesame， 它那个刃还是保持比较宽的刃，然后它的长度不是特别的长，它的那个劈砍效果还是很突出的，就展示的功能都非常的突出，所以它是早期的扫把的训练剑，然后到后期它就慢慢也是变长变细了，就这样。
Okay, so Mr. Chen has shared with me, this is actually a sword that I'm somewhat familiar with since I am American and I have handled some of these swords. I actually own a model 1822 French saber, cavalry saber, that was probably brought over to the U.S. prior to the Civil War. It was probably used in the Civil War. I'll make a video of that later. This is a replica that Mr. Chen made of a U.S. Army Model 1860 saber. There's a lot of, so the 1822 French sword was basically copied by the U.S. for the Model 1840 sword, which was actually a very good sword. The 1860 was adopted because the 1822 French and the 1840 U.S. are big, heavy swords. 1860 is a little bit smaller. Not a lot smaller, but a little bit smaller. Very similar style. It's got a brass three-leg hilt, three-branch hilt, brass guard, leather wrapped grip with wire. This is all properly done, so very nicely done. And one other point is I think I've talked about before is, for those of you who find these sabers at trade shows and flea markets, if you find one where the blade is rattling around in the scabbard, here's a hint for you. It was not the original scabbard, because these scabbards were pretty much fitted to each sword. And Mr. Chen has done this properly. There's a inside of the throat of the scabbard, there's a couple of leaf springs that hold the blade in place. And if you try to extract this sword, so it slides very easily in, but then it grips at the very end. So you need to have a little bit of force to take it out of the scabbard for the first couple centimeters, and then it extracts very smoothly. So scabbard needs to fit the sword. If it does not fit the sword, you know it was not the original scabbard. So as usual, Mr. Chen has made a very nice blade. So this. I haven't had a lot of 1860s. Like I said, I've got an 1822. Actually, it is a little bit bigger than this one, but feels very similar. So, nice blade, good saber.
Thank you.